Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, I get to speak with the amazing Judi Fox, hashtag Fox Rocks. She has been an amazing speaker and an inspiration to me, an amazing creator, a LinkedIn video creator, and she's done some amazing stuff on LinkedIn. She is the premier go-to person if you want to learn anything about making it huge on LinkedIn and social media, and lots of amazing stuff. So I was fortunate enough to be in some groups chatting with her and exchanging voice messages. And I was like, hey, I would love to have you on the podcast. And luckily, I got lucky. So here we have.
Here we are.
Judi, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Aw, thank you for all those really kind words. Thank you.
You're welcome. I've been following your videos and live videos and trainings, and a lot of stuff that you've talked about resonates with me because, you know, like you, I've been on LinkedIn since forever. And it's just recently that it just started changing people's lives. It started changing the whole dynamic of LinkedIn, what LinkedIn can bring. And you've mastered that. So tell us a little bit about how you figured this out, or you know what struggles you had to go through before you were like, okay, this could be something worth making something out of.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a really great question to talk about what struggles, because I think when we open up about the things that were in the back of our mind or what we kind of hurdles we overcome, I mean, I think that's where we all relate to each other. So, because I relate to people's videos when they talk about their hesitation with making their first video.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, I've been on LinkedIn since the beginning, probably like 2000. I know that I've been on at least since 2005. I have to have been, because I remember using LinkedIn to network to jobs and stay networked within my career. And I always saw it as an amazing place to make sure to stay in touch with your past colleagues, anyone you worked with on a contract, whoever you touched base with. I would always go to a meeting and I'd be like, oh, are you on LinkedIn? And so I knew that building that, you've met them in person, you should stay in touch with them somehow online through their email, some way you need to stay in touch with people you've met in business. And again, it started from that core place of, your network is so freaking important. People who know people will be the ones that will get you jobs, that will network you to jobs before they're even announced as job openings.
Exactly.
And so knowing that, I just went all in. And I think that came from, I listened to a couple motivational speakers from like the National Speaker Association, and it was actually on a tape cassette back in 1999 or something. I listened to these. And I remember even my dad gave me one and I listened to it on repeat. And it was basically all about how to negotiate a job offer and networking. And it just stuck with me to this day. I'm so curious, like, who are the people who recorded that? Because that really stuck with me. So to go back to the hurdles, the hurdle was kind of overcoming that concept that LinkedIn is just a job board, is just a networking static place, that it's actually a place where you can create content and position yourself as a thought leader, no matter what business, no matter who you are, that you can have success by creating content on LinkedIn. And also the other concept is to not think of yourself as an ad producing machine. You're a human. So if you even work for a company or a brand, you're still a human that works for that company and that brand. And your thoughts are still thought leadership pieces. You can talk about so many subjects and not, what's the word? You shouldn't be causing any concern or ripples within your company or community. And I felt for a long time that I couldn't get on video or do anything on LinkedIn because I was afraid, which I think a lot of people are. How is their employer or their network going to see that? Is that going to hurt them? Or is it going to make their employer think they're looking for another job?
Mm-hmm.
Content creating on LinkedIn brings up a lot of questions for people in their heads. And I started my journey of sharing on LinkedIn started with, I listened to a podcast this morning. This was one takeaway from that podcast. And then I ended it. And that was my very first video. And that was really, really good because it wasn't about my company. It wasn't about, I'm looking for a job, and I wasn't looking for a job at the time. I just needed to share. I listened to this podcast and I felt I got pushed by amazing people on the platform to start sharing my voice in whatever format that took. All right, there you go.
That's beautiful because, like you said, listening to those tapes that your dad gave you and listening to other speakers talk about networking, like I learned about networking a lot later, even though I had this innate feeling in my gut that I need to connect with people that I'm working with. So, like yourself, I would do the same thing. I was like, "Hey, are you on LinkedIn?" And they'd be like, "What's LinkedIn?" It's like, "Oh, it's a professional network that people that work together connect together on there." Like, "Oh, okay, sure, I'll connect with you." And then over the years, I don't know if you had the same experience, but you would get a lot of requests from recruiters because that's where they go to look for resumes and job or people.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's really cool story. I love it.
Well, and I loved and connected as an open networking connector.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when I made that shift. I'm pretty sure it happened if I look back, I'm pretty sure that happened around 2007, 2008, 2009 during that economic crisis, because it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, what does it matter if I don't, quote unquote, really know you? If you are somebody who's interested in what I'm putting out into the world, I may more likely get a job by connecting with you.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I was like, I'll connect. Bring them on? Like, let's connect. And I remember hitting the 500 connections and I was thinking, wow, this is amazing. I have 500 people. I mean, just think about it. Whether your number is, I don't care what your number is, that's 500 people and they all know somebody.
Yeah.
And so if you reached out to those 500 people and said, I am job searching, you put together a quick little message. I think the shorter your message is to people when you have an ask, the more likely it is you'll get response. The shorter it is and the less, what's the word? The less requesty it is, the less pressure. If you just say like, hey, I'm just kind of putting it out there, let me know how I can help you. But I do kind of have an ask without making it a strong ask, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. It's like, it's like, hey, what's up? You want to grab lunch or you want to do this, instead of being like, oh, this is my life of, this is what I've been doing. And can you please, it's like, you want to be like super casual, I guess. So.
Yeah. Very, very casual. Like almost like if you walked into a business to hand them your resume and you were going to talk to the person at the front desk, you would just say, hi, I don't know how many people come in off, just coming into the main reception area. Wanted to drop off my resume. If there ever is a chance that I can get a coffee with somebody in the marketing department, whatever department you're looking for. Yeah. I would appreciate that. If there is any way you can give me anyone's name, that would be a great connection. Thank you. Let me know if there's anything I can ever do for you guys. Blah, blah, blah. Done. Like walk out.
Exactly. It's really interesting because still a lot of people are afraid to use LinkedIn and its power. They're like, oh, it's just a place that I'm connected with people and I don't want to make waves like you mentioned earlier. But what's also interesting is people, like the one thing that I started seeing was people started putting hashtag lion. I'm like, what does it mean to be a lion?
Yeah.
Like for the longest time, I was like, I have no idea what this And these were colleagues that were working with me, and I didn't have the guts to go and ask like, hey, why are you a lion? And I thought maybe they went to school for it, or maybe they took some course about being a lion. And then I think it was like last year, I was like, okay, what is this lion thing? Turned out it's LinkedIn Open Networker. Like, oh,
Yep. And there's also open networkers, like association, there's a bunch of hashtags. You're right. But yes, I do know the lion one. And I came across that one pretty early too, right around the 2007 or whenever. Yeah. I don't know when it got started, but I remember being like, the first moment I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. And I started searching specifically to connect with lions because I knew they would not reject my connection request.
Yeah, they would connect right away.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Very, very cool.
I mean, if you think about it, there's authors writing amazing books, and we connect with them because we read their book. There's a part of us that would connect with them in a heartbeat online, right? So I don't see why we wouldn't do that to other people that just haven't had a chance to write their books yet.
No, you're totally right. That's a very valid point. And talking about authors, I've connected with a few authors, and hopefully I'm an author pretty soon.
Yay.
I read, and I'm still wondering, I think he, what's his name? Wow, name's escaping me. It's Robert Moore. It's not Richard Moore. It's Robert J. Moore, and he's an author, and I got to do a chapter on his Magnetic Entrepreneur, which should be coming out tomorrow or the day after.
That is so exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. So you've been a video and content strategist. How did that specific part came out? Because you're like, all right, LinkedIn is great for networking. You can connect with people, more than 500 people you can reach out, and they can probably find you a place or a job or something. So how did that grew into where you are today?
I think it grew from, it's definitely not overnight. And I know more platforms than LinkedIn, definitely. I think what happened specifically is a couple things. One is niching down, just realizing that I have the ability to move the needle in someone's business, but I think you're more likely to get traction moving that needle if you niche down, or especially if you're growing your business in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Again, what really happened is that coming from an engineering background, being very technical and managerial for a lot of my career, working my way up the ladder towards the C-suite with major companies, all Fortune 500 companies, and reaching a point where that wasn't as fulfilling as I originally thought it was, and kind of hitting a point where, I had gone back to school, I got my master's, I got an MBA / Master's of Science in Environmental Management. So it was very specific. And even just by doing that, I realized, there is so much power in being niched down.
Oh, yeah.
And when I started making videos on LinkedIn, that was backed by starting a blog all the way back in 2007, starting and figuring out how to code in HTML on my downtime at home in the evenings after work. So it's one of those things that I had learned how to promote my content online to the point that my own blog was getting about 100,000 views. Nice. And my content and posts on my own blog. So to kind of bring that all up into the forefront, I think part of my story is everyone thinks like, oh my gosh, that's so overnight success. But I had been studying copy. I'd been studying so many things, and looking at how people show up online is something I just constantly do. Yeah. And it's something I've been doing for so many years that when I finally did it myself on LinkedIn, and I picked specifically LinkedIn to really get very, very active on as all right, I'm all in. You know what I mean? Like versus I'm all on all these platforms. I'm going to go more hardcore all on LinkedIn, like right now. And by doing that, I think that made more of my ability to reverse engineer what I've done and recreate those results for other clients. And I specifically help clients get attention online and help them funnel people into what to do with that attention. So if you get 1,000 views, if you get 20 comments, 50 likes, how do you process that? What do you do with that to keep that attention? And how do you bring them into the top of your funnel, your sales funnel, your onboarding process? How do you do that?
Yeah. So how do you do that?
How do you do that? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm working on it.
No, I love it. And the way I start is by saying, you really don't need the millions of views. If you get the millions of views and you don't have any way to onboard any of your clients, then it doesn't do you any good. So I'm not discounting, like, go ahead and start. I don't ever stop anybody from starting, even if they don't have everything perfect online. But I always tell people when I say optimize your profile, I always think to myself, optimize it. Again, I'm working with people who want to optimize it for selling either their company, their brand, their book, their course, whatever your highest return on investment. And that could be you job searching. It could be you.
Really good points.
Yeah. And I think people think of it as those old terms of resume, but it's not. It's like you're handing somebody a brochure about you, and you can make it glossy and shiny and visually appealing, and an about me section and video content. And it's amazing what you can do.
No, that you're absolutely right. You've got to niche down. And the more I listen to you, the more I think about, what am I doing with my profiles and applying that knowledge and reading these books in the past. And currently there's a few books that talk about these same, methodologies, niching down, having a funnel, having a opt-in form, having something to, bring in the audience and figure out, who it is that you're like, who's your target audience or who's your avatar that you want to focus and bring content to.
I think it's so great for people. Obviously, all the books you can read, all the things you can do, but I will remind people and even tell myself that I pushed myself to start before everything was perfect. And I know that creates a lot of tension inside people or imposter syndrome feelings inside people because, at the same time that I'm telling people, here's what to do, I sometimes need to do it myself, right? It's that same feeling of if you're a fitness coach and you have lost 20 pounds and maybe you still have 10 more pounds that you want to lose, or maybe you feel like you'd like to be able to squat or lift more weights, that doesn't discount your experience of already losing those 20 pounds and being able to teach somebody from a place of saying, here's what I've done. Here's the meal plan. Here's the workout. Here's the program I've put together that's been proven because now I've run 10 people through it.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm not perfect. I don't have that. I have that last 10 pounds to lose. I'm still drinking whatever soda, whatever 2 times a week. I'm still whatever, I don't know. It's in your head. Exactly. It's not, you've discounted yourself from being able to teach, and you're actually holding back from the world the ability to help other people by feeling like you had to be perfect. And that's where I come from. I'm not perfect. I don't show up perfect everywhere online. If you want to dig into my imperfections, go for it. But I know that the clients I work with, I'm so invested in having them move the needle. And some of my clients, they have marketing teams, they have sales teams, they have, all kinds of CFO, CMO, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm one person. And yes, I'm not going to show up the same way they do, but I can take what they've done and I know what to do with it. And if I can do that, and like I said, if I've lost the 20 pounds as the workout, I can be like, no, this is what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. No,
And so that's it. Nobody's ever perfect. And so you have to get over that to be able to teach from a place of imperfection.
that's right. I mean, and I think that's one of my problems. I try to go for perfection because being a graphic designer
Mm.
for the past so many years, I'm always looking for those pixel perfection, and I lose sight of, okay, what's my goal supposed to be. And myself, I'm still working on, okay, what do I need to focus on. I have some ideas, I have some things that I've put in motion, and I've just got to commit myself to those things and follow through and complete them. Like one of the books that I'm reading right now is called Ask by Ryan Levesque, and it was recommended by Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income. And he's in the book, he says, he's got a very interesting method where it's the ask method. You're asking people, what are they struggling, what is their problem that they're facing, and if you can help one person to solve that one problem, there's many more people that have that same problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I think if you can solve, sometimes I'll dial it back even further. If you can solve one or two problems for yourself and then document that journey and process
exactly,
and try to figure out, like I said, reverse engineer, because that's where my brain comes. Sometimes you can create a formula, a process, something to move a user, a client through. And even if it's a small one, you may just have whatever it is. And I feel like where I finally hit my stride in my own business was when I started thinking to myself, what is the user experience of somebody coming to your profile? Not just the word optimizing it has this feeling of, what does that even mean anymore? And I feel like, to me, it's now the top down, above the fold user experience. What are you going to do on that very first visual glance? Just like somebody looks at your resume, just like somebody looks at your website, it's the user experience. Same thing with your LinkedIn profile. They're going to come to your LinkedIn profile after you've made whatever content you've made, and they're going to see and that's where I started with the top cover image. And that just like it was something I wanted to solve in myself and something I was starting to solve for other clients, and it's something I've always consumed and thought about. And then when I put that post out into the world and it went to like 500,000 people, I hit a nerve. Like, it was something I solved for myself, something I solved for clients, and now I was going to solve it even more on a more massive scale. Like, that has brought me probably 20 clients in a short amount of time.
And that's all because you optimize and you niche down too, right? Because it says right there, you're a LinkedIn video creator and you love.
I think I say video and content strategist.
Yes, you are a
Yeah.
video content strategist, but I was looking at your cover.
Oh, right. Yes. I love making LinkedIn video. So yes, I use my hashtag at the top. I use that and I say heart sales, because I'm not trying to, in that top cover image, and I definitely could use to update it, by the way. It's not perfect. It's progress over perfection. But it has the part of my brand that is my first branded word, which is fun. I want people to know that when they work with me, it's going to be lighthearted. It's going to be fun, but lighthearted doesn't mean it's going to be heavy business. Like, we're going to make and move the needle in your business, but you're going to be smiling the whole time while you're doing it.
It's like going on a roller coaster ride.
Yeah. Let's have a great time.
Strapped in, but there's gonna be ups and downs, but we're gonna get it moving. That's awesome. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. In fact, I'm recording this on my phone. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app, or go to anchor.fm to get started?
I was just reading. So I connected with Ashley McGrath on the platform, and she's an amazing copywriter. And then she connected me with a website recently where it's called the Middle Finger Project. And I read her copy on that project or on that website. And she basically says, if your process of creating, whatever that is, so if your process of creating a video or your content or even your image and your profile, if your process of doing that is from a place of not having very much fun, maybe it's a little bit boring, maybe your process feels like you're just doing a homework assignment, then it's going to come across that way. Your content's going to come across that way. Your copy is going to come across that way. Your video is going to come across that way. So that's why people look at me and they maybe look at my brand, but it's funny. My brand ends up bringing, you don't have to be as fun or whatever as me, but it brings up a little bit of spark and light into every single person I work with, to the point that they get so much more creative inspiration than they had before working with me. I'm patting myself on the back, but I feel like if you can just be a little loose, a little fun, bring your emotions a little bit higher. I feel like business and emotions don't always feel like they're supposed to mix, but if you can figure out how to mix them, it actually takes you so much further, because you can tap into, even if it's your emotion about running a business, and not always every emotion is up, not every emotion is down. Some emotions are proud, some emotions are struggle, some emotions are excited. There's like thousands of emotions. And so just going through that list, sometimes I'll take people through an emotion list and I'll be like, if you had to pick your top 5 emotions you would like people to feel when they read your content, let's pick some of these emotions. And people are like, what? And I'm like, but if you don't have an emotion in your content, it's just like blah, 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 blah. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. It all comes back to, like you said, the art of copywriting, art of writing for an 8-year-old. And I think one of the lessons I was listening to, I think it was James Patterson or Steve Martin, and they have a master class, and they're like, your language when you're writing a book or writing any copy should be understandable by an 8-year-old. If it's at the higher end, because that's the most simplest type of language that you can use that everybody will understand. But if your audience is PhD and students and academia, then maybe that's not the route you want to go to. Again,
yeah, it depends who your audience is, definitely.
It's on the audience. And so I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. And then
but even if your audience is PhD, you can still bring up certain emotions within that field and still write at the same level of professional colleague level experience, but tap into an emotion that you have felt throughout your career or what you have experienced. And so that way you can start to tap into stories. I think storytelling is basically, it's beyond powerful. I mean, I know you know that. And I think people don't realize that storytelling is, I think, this is my process. This is how I feel like it's the easiest way for people to tap into storytelling, is to start with the concept of, what emotions do you normally on a regular basis feel? Okay, well, let's start there. Okay, you don't feel any. Well, let's try and figure out which ones would you love to feel if you were going to have people land on your content. What would you like them to feel?
Absolutely.
Because your storytelling will start to develop, I think, from feelings. But that's me. Again, I go all in on who I am, and if people resonate with it, then it works. And I think there's enough billions of people on the planet that there's room for all of us. So
absolutely. And starting with the place of feelings is always going to work, because deep down we're all human. We all have a heart. And one thing that I was telling myself is, anytime you want to do something and achieve something, go with the heart and ignore your brain. Yes, you'll need your brain to analyze and stuff, but if you continually just spend your time, spend your days analyzing and thinking, not take action, well, you've just wasted a day.
I mean, and that's actually one of the things that was on the tape that I listened to that was drilled into my brain in 1999. I know exactly when. It said, with the biggest decisions in life, we make them with our emotions and we back them up with fact.
Yes.
And we don't think we're doing it. We really don't. We truly believe that we're making logical, rational decisions, but they broke it down in this, famous speech that was on this talk. It was like TED Talks before TED Talks existed. And it was basically saying like, it's a fact. I mean, the biggest decisions, like if the person you're going to marry, you will feel it in your body, feel it in your soul, feel it in your gut, and then you'll turn around and back it up with facts that can support your emotional decision.
Yeah. And sometimes those emotional decisions come a lot later, or the facts come a lot later.
Yeah. I mean, good or bad, people try to think that their emotions aren't in play. And I'm like, oh, your emotions are in play. You may be the most rational person on the planet, but you've just gotten really good at all the facts to back up your emotions.
But that's the thing, right? We're not rational human beings. Like humans.
No.
And then that's why we make computers, because we want somebody to be rational. And that's but I mean, you train them wrong.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many subjects we could unpack. But I almost feel like what I've started to hone in on is it's like I'm your like best friend in business. Like basically that fun friend that comes in is like, oh my gosh, what are we going to work on today? Like, because if you think about it, a lot of people, and I hear this story all the time, and I think some of it's a little bit limiting belief. And that's when I talked about the podcast and kind of removing some loneliness. I think even just spending time together in person with people, you feel energy. And so if you're never around any people in your home by yourself, you would miss out on that energy. And that's why, like, my podcast, I'm trying to make it upbeat, high energy, because business and fun can go together.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why it's called Level Up Your Business with Heart and Humor. I mean, it's the Judi Fox show, but I love that we're talking about heart. And then I went with humor because I feel like I want people to know when they see that, they're going to get a podcast that has some laughs in it. It's not just, it's got some bad jokes.
Nice. I love it.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I've got this little thing that I never get to do.
That's so good. I need one of those. I need like a sound machine thing that I can I can edit that in afterwards. But
what's cool is when you get the reaction from your guest.
Yes, that is true.
Like, because you could throw in all sorts of sounds, and it almost looks like a sitcom. That's the other thing that I watch. That I grew up watching a lot of, like Seinfeld is my favorite. These other shows, and they'll like throw in the laughter, and it's like after the fact, like the actors have no idea what's going on, and like we were watching them from this window. It's funny. All right, we've had some really awesome topics. I love it. Very, very helpful, very genius. And, it's always moving, just like, so I'm in the software development business, and, you being an engineer, a little bit about that. It's never a perfect launch. There's always iterations. There's always bugs. And what you got to do is you got to keep going. You got to keep fixing those bugs and keep moving forward. So as a guest, there are some questions that we ask our guests. What is one hobby that you wish you got into?
Oh my goodness. Oh, that I wish I got into. Can I have a hobby that I wish I'd kept going? I just wish I'd kept up with my running, that I had just kept running and kept that up. I mean, I feel like I could go start again, but it still just feels like now I have to be like, whoa, I let that one slide. I think I stopped running. I mean, it was just so nice to go for runs. I've been running for so long. And then I stopped in about 2012. I had a kid and I just never got back into it. And I wish that I did. I still can. It's not too late.
It's never too late. It's never too late. Absolutely.
But no, I'd run a marathon. I've run half marathons. I was racing. Like I was even racing in my 30s and I was actually doing really well. At one point I ran faster than I ever ran in high school for a 5K, like 3.1 miles. I think I ran, it was sub 20 minutes. So it was like 19 minutes and 50 seconds. I was pretty proud of myself.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like I loved pushing myself running. I think I ran a half marathon in an hour and 30 minutes. So yeah, I'm super competitive if you can't tell.
And now you're super competitive in helping others.
Yes.
Which is, you still have that same drive, but it's just pointed towards a different passion altogether. Awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you play a board game with me, I can't help but be competitive. I play video games with my 6-year-old. He's now 7, but I'm competitive and he beats me and I am trying. So he is good. He is good.
All right, next question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Oh, I can't wait for the show to come back out with another, I think it's one more season, but it's called Younger and most people don't know about it. It's on TV Land. Have you ever heard of it?
I've seen that show.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Cracks me up because I feel like I really relate to the character in some ways because I'm in my 40s and everyone thinks I'm in my 20s. And I'm like, well, there you go. So she is a 40-something-year-old and she goes back to work and everyone thinks she's in her 20s. I mean, she lets them and promotes them to think that she is. I don't do that. But.
And she has to. I mean, it's because of the situation that she's in. I was like, just let it be known. And yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I love the dynamics. And I like Hillary Duff? And I just think it's fun. Like, it's just so much fun.
It's a very fun show. All right, couple more. What is your favorite superhero?
Ooh, I want to say it's Rogue.
Okay.
doesn't she take on, and I'm not good with superheroes. I don't watch tons of those kinds of shows, but I did one time think to myself, that is super. Doesn't she take on the powers of other people?
Yes, she can.
That's super cool.
People's energies. Okay. And I'll tell you another superhero that goes very close to Fox Rocks.
Ooh.
And that is Rocket Raccoon.
Ah.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh my gosh, I have... What were you going to say?
He has a very mean, like front-facing, like he's super mean, but he's an amazing guy.
Oh yeah, that's me. I'm just kidding. No, my son the other day said I should be Elastigirl, and I was like, "What?" And he said, "I see you." He just randomly said that I came across like Elastigirl. And then what was the other thing? Oh, last summer, and I didn't know that the theme for his school was going to be superheroes that year.
Okay.
And that summer, we're spending a lot of time together. He has to go shopping with me, grocery shopping, go to Target, whatever, do these things with me because he's home with me. And at one point he was like, "This is so boring." And I was like, "I know, that's my superpower. I'm super boring." And so I went all in on it. Like I even have like a headband that's got like a POW thing that like I'm in my super boring mode. So whenever I would put that headband on, he would groan, roll his eyes and be like, "We're going grocery shopping." And I made grocery shopping fun. I actually uploaded a video. I just joined TikTok, which sounds super random, but I just joined and I uploaded a video where we play like cart games, like random Target cart games where I have to like try and throw something into the cart while he's moving it. It's probably not appropriate, but I try to make grocery shopping and doing things fun. But I joke at the same time saying that I'm super boring. I can make super fun things boring in an instant. That's my tagline.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. So imagine running into me at the grocery store. That is what we're doing. I mean, everyone knows us at the grocery store. Everyone.
All right. This would be.
I know you're trying to wrap up.
No. We can keep going. This is awesome. I love it. You can always edit out and make it 2 episodes.
That is true.
More fun with Fox. So I totally love pop culture, and I didn't grow up with pop culture because I grew up in Saudi Arabia. We had 30 minutes of TV time every day, and then it was like boring news. So there's a lot of TV shows, back in the 80s. But then when I moved to the United States, and the first superhero movie that I watched I think it was Batman with Michael Keaton. But I don't remember that movie as well as I remember the other ones with, I think it was, what's that handsome?
Aren't all Batman's handsome?
No, I'm talking about handsome actors.
I know. I'm just kidding. I don't remember. I just know it's Batman.
George Clooney. He's the handsome one. But I got into superheroes, and then I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I just follow like everything that's happening in their universe. All right. So the next question, you might like this one. And if you were a board game, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Can I be like so many if I was a board game?
That's good that you know a lot of board games, because a lot of people ask this question like, wait, I don't know any board games.
Oh my gosh. So if you watch my videos, when you see my bookshelf in the background, it's full of board games.
Oh.
Like actually one of my I was actually cringing when I watched back, but the board game, because I rotate which ones are out front so me and my son can see and be inspired to play them. The ones that are near the front you want to play because you see them, and one near the front was Candyland. But I mean, I love Settlers of Catan.
Yes.
I love negotiating and being and convincing people to give me their stuff and trade, and I'm super I'm all into negotiation and the sales technique. I'm always working on my sales technique for Settlers.
I love that board game. That's what I picked to be.
Oh my gosh. Then we need to play it.
I know.
And record a podcast while we're playing Settlers of Catan so you can hear our negotiation skills.
Nice. All right. We'll have to do that one day.
We're having too much fun.
That's what this is all about,
I know. It's my brand. It's super easy because that's my life. I'm trying to I want to have fun for the rest of my life until I die.
Oh my God. That's my goal in life because, I have like 100 hobbies. And the reason I started this podcast is because every week my colleagues would ask me, okay, so what's the new hobby you started this week? And I was like, I'm doing photography, I'm doing videography, I'm doing cycling, I just started woodworking, I'm getting into beekeeping. I have all these things. And they're like, oh my God, dude, you're into way too many things. You should start a podcast. So one of my colleagues was like, you should start a podcast. And since you just started beekeeping, you should talk about Queen Bee. And I'm like, all right, Queen Bee. And then he's like, you know who Queen Bee is, right? I was like, who is it? And he's like, it's Beyonce. I was like, Beyonce is Queen Bee? Really? So I have to do some research. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna talk about Beyonce on my first episode.
Nice. Well, I feel like so many people, it's almost like what we talked about before. You got to niche down, but then you're like, so I'm very similar. I have tons of things that I start, hobbies. I'm curious about this. I'm down a rabbit hole this way. I'm down a rabbit hole this way. But I feel like that plays really, really into content creation.
It does.
Because I can lean into my natural strength, which is like acting like squirrel. Because content creation is like that. Content creation is coming from a place of grabbing all these bits of information from the internet and from the world, and then putting it into a video and seeing the video before it's even made. And that's how I operate. I can see my clients' videos, content, and everything. I can just see it mapped out before it's ever even made.
That's an amazing power.
I love it. But I think it comes from touching all these different things in life
That's true.
and not just I mean, I'm in my 40s. I've spent all these years being interested in a gazillion things.
Oh yeah.
But it gives me all this exposure to a gazillion ways of having analogies, ways of showing up. Like you said, I mean, I've got I feel like I can touch on so many subjects.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And that's one of my aims to the I think it's somewhere I read in the book that some of the best ideas that you'll see coming on and taking the world over are mashups. They're mashing up multiple ideas into a single thing, and boom, it's like, what? I didn't even think of that.
Well, there's a YouTuber called Elle of the Mills, ELLE of the Mills, MILLS, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she's got some amazing videos where I've gotten so much inspiration from watching her videos where she cuts short little clips of random bits of different movies, different things. And her brain, I feel like if I could make videos and have a lot of time to do it, I would probably make videos very similar-ish in style because I can kind of see all the clips that need to be shot to go together. Like when I had a video from going to Vid Summit, and while I was shooting it, it's not like I'm shooting it and I've got I just know, it's instinct. I call it instinct meets experience. When you've just got that mix, you can just see things forming. And so when I came home and compiled, I don't know how many bits of video, probably, I don't know how many shots. It was probably at least over 30 shots that I was taking them along the way. I was styling them. I was like, okay, and it was super quick. I just knew what I wanted it to look like and I would just make it look that way. I can't quite explain it, but I just knew it. And I just did it. And then there's the video. And it got 20,000 views between the different shots and different edits. Cause I put multiple edits out on the platform.
No, that's a really good superpower to have, to be able to see forth what you're going to create. And that's I think that is some of the techniques that directors use when they're shooting a film. They know exactly where to put people, what to do with blocking and what to do and what people are going to be doing in different scenes, because they either have that power of what's the word, the premonition. What's that? I can't even remember things.
But I almost feel like if I sat down and tried to map it out the night before and had this whole thing, it just wouldn't work. But what happens is I literally, it's almost like meditative.
On the fly.
I'm standing at the conference and I can feel it. That sounds funny, but there's a couple of moments that I had interviews with people and moments with people where I just said, I just saw them coming at me and knew I was going to interact with them. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to we're done. We're filming. We're doing this right now. Grabbed them and it just all worked. It all came together into one somewhat smooth video, and I edited the whole video on my phone, the entire video, shot and edited, everything done on my phone.
Yeah. Doing it on the phone is such a powerful thing because you don't have to go sit at a computer. You don't have to download video. You got everything in your hands.
Yeah. I could be editing and kid drop off and pick up line. I had to build a business that I could work and it didn't slow me down.
Exactly. Cool, man.
We could go forever. Do you have any more questions? Sorry, I feel like we got.
No, you were already a board game.
Woohoo! Super boring.
Awesome. Super boring. Super foxy.
I love that it's the opposite of what I feel like I am, but I feel like that's the hilariousness of it.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because no matter how funny we think we are, our kids are still going to think we're boring.
I know. And I think he's hilarious. I wish we could just have webcams up, just to capture our life and be not in a weird way, but in a, cause we just do the most random stuff. And I think so many families do. And I think that's why we watch YouTube daily family bloggers, because seeing people and what they're doing in their lives, it is kind of super cool, and it makes people feel less alone.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I don't know what else to ask. Yes, I do have one more question. Where can my audience find you?
That's a great question. The best place to go is judifox.com. So Judi Fox. I wish I could grab the Judy Fox just in case people spell my name wrong, but it's Judi. And that's the best place, because at the very top or at the bottom, I put it in both places. You can get all the places to find me on social media. And I loved the way the Middle Finger Project put it when she said you can follow our social. She was like, you can follow me down a dark alley. That was so fun. I don't want to steal that. Like, I just want to give her credit, but that's genius. You can go follow me down a dark alley, all those social media places.
Cool. Thank you so much, Judi, for taking the time out of your busy day and us here on Hacks and Hobbies. Adios.
Adios.
Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on the website hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.